Hey everyone and welcome to the B-side. Today we're going to go over some of the patch notes that were released today for the latest patch. There are some nice fixes and there are some fixes I'm a little bit concerned about what they're going to mean for some of the things we've been doing in Valheim since Mistlands released. So without further ado, let's just go over each of them. Now, if you want to try out a public test, you can do that. I will drop a link in the description below with the information on how to enable public testing. Just be careful, because if you jump back and forth between public testing and the regular saving, that might cause some issues with your characters, deleting or removing or hiding. Now, they start off with the new content. That means they have added a few new things. One of them is the hexagonal gate, which a lot of players were asking for. I mean, they saw it when you go into the Mistlands and like, hey, why can we not build that? Come on. So they have added that now, which is nice. There's also a fishing hat, which is now a new item. It does need a super secret recipe to build it. I'm assuming you might have to fish it, and it will be included with one of the fish you catch. That allows you to, I think that will be the plan behind it. Now, for the balances and tweaks, we can see that the players now can use a trophy on ballistas to limit on what it will shoot at. That means you can put a deer head in there that will start shooting at deer. I'm not sure if it's going to combine everything. For example, if you put a deer head and it will just shoot deer, boar and whatever, or will it just shoot deer? If you put the trophy in, like a Grey Dwarf trophy, is it going to shoot only for Grey Dwarves, or is it going to shoot for the whole Grey Dwarf family? Otherwise, it will become quite a hassle if you want to have to build like 5 ballistas to just be able to aim to different kind of enemies. So the next one is the Seeker circling tweaks. That means that they will feel a bit more aggressive again. If you noticed before they did the balance before Christmas, the Seekers were way more aggressive, balanced that out, which then made them circle a lot more, felt less challenging, and now they're gonna be more aggressive again. I like it because I did miss the thrill of going into Mistlands, you know, the same thrill when you went into the plains with your character. An attack was an attack and you had to be careful. You had to make sure you had your food on you. You had to make sure that, you know, you were prepared for that. The Mistlands now will feel again a little bit more challenging and thrilling. The next is the Yawl split attack tweaks. They shoot now 2 projectiles again, which is also a change they did as well before Christmas. But the burst interval has increased. So that means that they are going to spit 2 of them at the same time, but it will take a longer time for them to spit another one. I'm assuming, because otherwise it's going to be way more challenging, that one. They're going to keep spitting these fireballs. Good luck. Should now be more visible and somewhat easier to avoid instead. More fire damage, less blunt damage. Okay, because the blunt damage was quite a smack. It also had a lot of pushback, so I'm wondering if it's going to avoid you getting pushed easily off the rocks and the mountains if you're somewhere on the height. Depends a bit, of course, how prepared you are. If you're already further away, then, you know, being pushed off the mountain is not that big of a problem. Added post-queen night spawn of seekers, brutes and ticks in meadows, black forest, mountain and plains domes. So, alright, that means they did reduce the raids. They took away the raids in the meadows, black forest, mountains and plains. They took away the raids, so you no longer will have these heavy raids like the Yawl and the seekers. Because they really made a lot of damage too. If you had like a base in the meadows and it was out of wood, it was demolished in a second. So they took away these raids, but you will get them now as a night spawn still. That means that they now have added them into the night, like you will come across the Grey Dwarfs, you will come across the fuelings, skeletons, all of these will show up now during the night. So be careful if you have beaten the boss. At least, you know, be careful as in make sure you're not surprised. You should be strong enough to, you know, protect yourself. Mistland boss now tries to flee if unable to reach the player. Yeah, I think they did some changes there. You know that there were a lot of people trying to kill the boss by just standing inside the entrance and hitting the corner there while the boss was standing next to them. Now they have done it so that if they cannot reach the player, they just move away. So you have to go and get the boss. Yeah, well, that's what do you expect? Mobs inside Mistland dungeons can now respawn. That's new, because that is something that doesn't happen in any other dungeon, no? Royal jelly piles inside Mistland dungeons are now respawning, adding hanging royal jelly piles as an indicator in the big dungeon rooms. which is good. Wolves can now eat chicken meat. Nice. I mean, I didn't test that before. I've just been using boar meat in all opinion, but good to know. So we can now give them chicken meat as well. Mist torches are no longer a primary target for enemies, which is nice because that was pretty annoying. You build a mist torch, seeker comes, bomb, straight away gone, or the yawl or whatever. Now they are no longer going for that primary target. That means it's still a target, maybe secondary or tertiary. That means if there's no workbench around it, if there's no fireplace or no yew, then they will probably still go for the mist torches. We'll have to test that out. We've been doing a lot of testing and hiding the Mistlands, the mist torches in the stone, just to kind of not be visible but still have the effect. Ether regen is no longer affected by swimming or when encumbered. So I'm assuming that that was kind of linked like stamina. If you're swimming or you're encumbered, you cannot get ether regeneration, which no longer happens, I'm assuming, which is nice. I've not done a lot of magic myself. Ymir flesh is now purchasable from Haldor after Elder is dead instead of after Bone Mass, which is nice because that was kind of the reason why you would go for Ymir flesh. You wanted to build yourself the sledge or the Frostner. That was like the main weapon to go after Bone Mass. Taking that away was kind of a bit of a sad thing. I mean, it was a nice way to go and attack. I like the Frostner, so getting the Frostner earlier is actually very cool. Health and resistance tweaks on some Dverger pieces. I'm not sure what they mean with that. I'm assuming they either are making the wards harder or they have been boosting the strength of the build a bit, just because they just destroy a lot of the building parts. If you want to keep it, if you want to keep the build and these dwarfs just start shooting your whole build apart, then it's a bit of a shame. So maybe they have strengthened this a bit. That would be nice. But I assume they might be working on the ward. They have probably seen people tricking the game and breaking the ward. We'll have to see. Okay, the next one is bug fixes. Let's go over this a little bit quicker. I'm just going to take the highlights here. Hens now lay eggs closer to their bodies. That's going to be one that we're going to have to keep an eye on. I just made a guide about the breeder on the Elder, and I used the technique now so the eggs, because the eggs are kind of pushed out the wall, if they now drop them again closer to the body, that means I'm going to have to change it again and use the roof again and find a way to make sure that they just drop their egg below them. I'm pretty sure we can fix that. They fixed the lag spike as well that happened now and then. That was actually caused by resources unloading. So if you been walking around and there's a lot of the instances were still in your like in your cache, they were unloaded every 20 minutes or something. So now they have changed that, so it's now gonna do while you're sleeping or pausing, will unload all of that. There was this annoying little hang when you're playing sometimes. Additional damage for bolt descriptions are now based on crossbow skill instead of bow skill. Yeah, I noticed that if you're using your crossbow and you upgrade your crossbow skill, the damage didn't really go up, or you had to have a good bow skill. Pickable Dwergerstein no longer fall through objects. What is Dwergstein? I never came across that. What's Dwergstein? Did anybody come across this? If you know that, if you know about Dwergerstein, let me know. If you know what it means, let me know in the comments what it means, because I have no idea what it means. Some fishing tweaks and fixes. So we have now the fishing hat. The fish will no longer despawn when far away. High tier fish now give slightly more raw fish, and there's now a small chance for fish to give players some extra materials when they are successful reeled in. And I think the extra materials they're talking about is that for the fishing hat, I'm assuming. Fishing bait is now returned if pulled in without fish or when recasting. Nice. Fishing bait recipes now take basic fishing bait instead of the previous biome fish. So, for example, if you want is it the troll head is going to get sticky, I think. Is it sticky? So you use a troll head and the regular bait, and that is going to create the sticky bait, for example, I'm assuming. Fish will now try to escape when hooked. So that's going to increase the stamina usage. Good luck with that, guys. Tetra can now spawn at higher levels correctly. I'm assuming that a higher, largest fish, because now they're all the same size. Tuna now only can spawn in the ocean biome, which is nice because it felt a little bit weird. I found tuna in the rivers. Higher level fish only jump in the ocean biome. Yeah, I think they fixed that because there were way too many fish being caught on the shore. So the last thing that they talk about is also some accessibility changes. So they changed the option menu now that you can actually disable lightning flashes. That's going to be very good for people that are sensitive to flashing lights. They also have now finally added the option to disable the ravens because the tutorials after a while are just getting tedious. If you play this for 1,500 hours, you don't want these ravens constantly telling you that you have to pick up a piece of wood and a pick of stone. So it's nice to be able to disable that and also keep it disabled. You don't have to use the command anymore. Now, they also have been showing some of their concept art, which I really like. I really see the future for Ashlands. Really looking forward to that. I mean, I saw some concept art that was done by Grimcore. If you look at the dungeons that they are building there, or the concept of the dungeons, I really like what they're going with. I prefer the first one, actually. The one with the volcano and the cracks and stuff looks really more ominous. If you compare it to the other ones, they are a little bit mellow, depending a bit on what the environment will be, of course. The second one could be cool. You could see the beam from a distance or something, but it feels a little bit too dimmed. And then the third one, the circle, I don't really like it 100%. Thing is, the circle feels a bit too much Atlantis. I really like the first one with the flames and the really feels way more ominous. And also with the enemies that they're going to put in there. I mean, the concept of the enemies. I'm looking forward to see what they do with that. Apart from that, they also showed some weapons that they are working on. Really liking the look of that. I'm definitely looking forward to the Berserker Axes. I'm assuming this is going to be dual wielding, which is pretty cool. They're also going to be adding some quests, that seems, which is nice. I mean, that's going to add a little bit more, you know, body to the realm of Valheim, more to do. They are going to be working with different kinds of clothing and style of clothing, which does seem to be more aimed at people that want to do some role-playing, yeah, for cinematic reasons or whatever. And then the last thing I want to talk about is also they're working on the helmet as well now, which is going to mean that if you put your helmet on your head, you will still see the hair of your character, which is nice. I think that was definitely very important to kind of also differentiate characters, because if everybody is like dressed up in the, you know, the armor, the same armor, you don't know who it is, except for female and male. You can see a little bit of difference, but for the rest, there was no, you know, you couldn't see anymore who was who, except for the name tag on top. Now, if you're going to be joining and playing the public test branch, then I would also say join their Discord. Make sure that you can give them your feedback, give your issues, give your bug reports, suggestions, so they can work on this, so the developers can work on these as quickly as possible and also swiftly release it for the public as well. But that's going to be it. I hope this was informative and helpful, and I will see you again next time. This was Beeblebum. Bye-bye for now.